Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we'll talk about going from postcodes to profit, especially for real estate investors or people operating in the real estate space that use property and property valuations to determine how they would invest and the things that they'll put their money into. So why did this come about? Recently, I started a series on automating the processes that property investors follow in order to generate the equity that they deserve or they want from their property portfolio, or the equity that they can extract as a result of the rental income that they have on their properties. So I've been investing in property for over 20 years, and I've been in IT as well for over 20 years. Now I'm doing AI as an IT expert in the property space, and I see a lot of these solutions and a lot of these problems as well on the market that property investors want to make the whole process of determining how much to invest a lot more streamlined and a lot easier to follow. So as I'm going through this series of building real life solutions or solutions to real life problems in public and before the eyes of people watching, I saw a job posted on Upwork, and this is it here. So build real estate automation workflow in n8n. Now n8n is an automation platform, is a workflow platform that helps you trigger multiple tasks in a step-by-step fashion. We'll look at that down the line in series coming up shortly. But for now, if we look at what people within the real estate space are posting within the AI forums and within Upwork, you can start to see what investors are trying to do. They're trying to speed up the way they can make decisions, and they want to get an edge. And if you're listening to this and you're watching this, you do want to be in that camp. You do want to be that investor or that property player or property sourcer who has a slight edge or a significant edge over your competition. You need to be able to make decisions a lot quicker. So what we're looking at is an AI-powered property vetting solution for property investors. It has a UK slant. The job I showed you is it has a US slant to it, but I'm UK based, so I'm going to talk about this from a UK standpoint. But the solutions are similar. It's all about getting data from the relevant sources, not doing these things manually, not doing the calculations manually, and supercharging the way you decide if you have a deal or not. So why automate deal vetting, and why is it essential? Well, the first thing is the sources of property data are diverse. They are scattered all over the place, and often you need to go to 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 different sites to get the information that you need in order to make one decision. Now, if you click through all of these pages and you have to pull this data from here, put data from the other place, yes, you can have a system that makes it slightly quicker, but you're still looking at roughly 45 to 60 minutes in order to appraise one deal. Now, if you've got 15 deals, in the past, you'd be saying, okay, we would want to do a third. So a third for profit, a third for purchasing the land, and a third for build. And then you can use that as your initial point for categorizing deals from no deals. But we know a third doesn't quite work in reality, because one of the thirds is often more like 50%, especially when it comes to land values and build costs. So you want to be able to make these decisions a lot quicker, and you want to be able to change the variables significantly more quickly. For instance, inflation has meant that build costs have suddenly gone up by 8% within the last 3 months. And how do you factor that in if you're doing everything manually and you don't have access to those sources immediately? But with AI and with automation, you're able to do these things really quickly. So the real job that I showed you is there's the link, and a summary of what that investor advertised was that he wants the automation to be triggered by inputting an address. He wants the automation and the AI to pull the data from different property portals and pull rent information from different APIs, and then all of that information comes together, and then it uses that information to autofill a performance template, calculate the return on investment, and based on the return targets, and then output a clean summary of everything in either Google Sheets or Airtable. Now, we use all these tools when we build our automations, and I've shown some automations in the past where we've done the calculation for your calculating equity, calculating how much you can realistically get from a bank through refinancing if you just rebased your rental income, and all of that happens automatically using n8n and some of the tools that I mentioned here. But this falls right in line with the series that we're teaching. So the end-to-end flow is you have a trigger from Airtable, a form, or a webhook. We'll build that live, and then you get information from in the States is Zillow, but in our case we'll pull it from Rightmove, either Rightmove, Zoopla, or property data, and then you pull rent data. In the States they're using Rent-O-Meter, but we've got our own equivalent here. Open Rent can be one, but property data does a really good job as well. Then autofill the Google Sheet, and then look at comparables, and then finally just output your conclusion on what has been generated. So we're building all these things down the line. Now, the old way of doing things, and it's still used by a lot of property investors, is they search Rightmove and Zoopla manually. They then estimate how much the rent would be by going to Spare Room or going to Open Rent, depending on the kind of property, HMO, buy-to-let, standard rental, and then you put that in an Excel spreadsheet. So some people trust their spreadsheets inherently, and that is fine. When I started, I was using spreadsheets, but then I automated those spreadsheets and made it publicly available through Valap. So it's still the same calculations and the same information. It's just a different way of doing the calculation and doing it a lot quicker and a lot more intelligently. And then using that information, they calculate the return on investment, they tweak the purchase price manually to adjust different things. Because it's a spreadsheet, unless you know how to write macros or do some other fancy calculations, it's quite complicated. And if you can do macros, you can certainly do a lot of the automations that we'll be talking about over the coming days. The problem with this is that it's slow, it's inconsistent, and you have to keep searching manually. Type this and then type that, copy this and paste in this other window. Why not just use AI and use some automation? So the new way is you provide the address. In our case, you provide a postcode, and we'll give you the rental figures, the property details. We'll use a normal trigger, a webhook trigger. We'll automatically fill in the spreadsheets or Google Sheets. We'll do the return on investment logic in an automated fashion, and then the output will be a beautiful Google Sheet or Airtable document that you can then push on to the next level. And we will use n8n to do the automation of the workflows. So n8n is a nice visual way of developing end-to-end solutions, and how it works is similar to what the screenshot we have on here. It's not exact, but you essentially bring in steps within a workflow. So if you are a property appraiser or a property sourcer, you typically have steps that you follow, whether you recognize that you do or not. Most likely you do have a step. So the first thing is you get the property postcode or the property address. You then take the postcode, you put the postcode in Rightmove to find comparable sale prices. You put the postcode in Rightmove to find comparable rental prices, and then you start to use that to categorize the kind of property or the kind of deal you have. And then on that basis, you still have to work out which deal works best for the opportunity that you're seeing. Is it a HMO? Is it a standard buy-to-let? Is it a flip? Is it a tear down and build again? Is it a conversion? You don't know all these things offhand. You need to calculate each one manually. But with code and with Valap, you can do it automatically, quickly. So n8n is open source. Everyone has access to it, and you can learn how to use it. Yes, there's a bit of a steep learning curve for the n8n tool. There's another one which we use as well called make.com. That's a lot easier to manage. But n8n appeals more to my developer instincts, and there's a lot more in-depth development that you can do, especially with function steps within n8n. Now, all of this is just to say that there is a much more aligned way of developing your property vetting process and speeding things up. You want to get to a decision a lot quicker than your competition, and you want to get to your investors before the competition, because unless you have exclusivity on the deal you're looking at, you're most likely going to be competing with other people in your field, in your space, and you'd have other investors. And you want your investor to be the purchaser of the deal rather than the competition. So behind the scenes, what's likely to happen and what we'll be building is n8n would probably be the trigger. I'm thinking of using a chat step. So within the chat, we'll put in a postcode so that everything lives on n8n, or I might consider using a form to receive the postcode, and then that form will trigger n8n, and then n8n will do the calculations that it needs to do. The ones we've built in the past, we've taken the initial information from Google Sheets. So we did this for portfolio landlords, and the portfolio landlord will have a spreadsheet with all their properties, and this can be done with any CRM. It's just we use Google Sheet as the CRM in this case. We pull the property details, and then we did all of the searches, and all of the searches included fetching the most current rental data and the rental income figures. We also fetched the most recent sale prices. So we compare the live sale prices, so prices on the market as of today, versus the prices you get from places like Land Registry, where the sale has already gone through and is probably a few months old. So live data helps because it gives you an idea of the temperature of things currently. So we pull that information from wherever, form, webhook, whatever trigger, then we match that against what we have in property data and Rightmove and Zoopla. Then we use a Google Sheet to publish the end result, but a lot of the calculation and the intelligence lives inside the steps that we would develop out. And then we'll use AI, a large language model, to produce the end result or the end document that you see and the recommendation. So the great thing about this is it's real-time return investment calculation. You can make minor tweaks to the data, and all of that would just filter through the rest of your calculations. You can do that in a spreadsheet with a macro, but if you want to change things really quickly, you can just type it in and then press send, and then it goes through. If you're Valap and you subscribe to Valap, it does it in real time whilst you're looking. So those are options that exist right now for you to use. And the great thing is you can tweak different buttons within the rental portfolio calculation. For instance, you could say, well, if I'm able to get 10% off from the builder, what does that do to the offer price that I can make? Or if the price of the property goes down by 5% during the build, what does that do to the final figure? On the other hand, you could say, well, the economy looks like it's doing really well. I expect property prices to go up by 10%. So you look at your best case scenario, you look at your worst case scenario, and you could just do a comparison, just make your offer on that basis. So with this automation, we can make that something real. So what are the use cases for a tool like this? If you are a property investor and you're actively looking for opportunities and you're actively receiving deals from sourcers, you want to be in a position to be able to either say yes or no to a property deal really quickly, and not have your mind dwelling on a property opportunity because you think it's going to work, and you keep fantasizing about it, and then eventually when you do the calculation you see that it doesn't actually work. What you can do as a property investor is just get the information, get your property sourcer to go complete the form on your page, and the form will trigger the automation. The result that comes back will tell the property sourcer straight away, this works, this doesn't work. So you have your logic, or your what they would call business logic. What essentially means is your criteria for determining if a property is a yes or a no. So property sourcers know within minutes if a property is going to work for you or not. And if it works, you get a notification straight away to say, okay, something amazing has just happened. We found a deal that actually works. It's time for you to make contact with the property sourcer and push things forward. Right now, it's really challenging finding deals that work. So you have to search a lot, and you have to search through a lot of data. So you do need tools to help you get through as many of these opportunities as possible in a short space of time as possible. I think that's how you say it. Okay, so real use cases. You have an investor dashboard. You can have calculations in the background just running overnight and then giving you answers in the morning or through the night and notifying you. You may want to put something in that would give you the ability to make automated offers. So you can still have a bit of margin built into your calculations. It's not a fixed thing. You have control over what numbers you can push. Then you can use it to vet leads, which is what I was mentioning earlier with the sourcing agents. A lot of sourcing agents don't know the calculations that you have to go through in order to find a deal. They just send whatever they get excited, they don't understand some of the build costs, the disposal costs, all the other things that you have to put into consideration if you are going to sign a deal, and interest rates as well, because that makes a huge difference. And then you know you're ready deals and you can act a lot quicker. So this task, the person who placed this on Upwork was prepared to pay $40 an hour for this task. He estimated, or she estimated, that it would take 6 hours to build this, and they wanted to sit on a Zoom call with the person building it for those 6 hours and pay $40 an hour. It's not a bad price, not a bad figure. You can build it, it's just whether you want to sit on a Zoom call for 6 hours. But the person who put this through also wants to learn how to build it. And I think that's a very clever way to pay for conversation. So you help them build out their tool, build out the solution they want to use for the investment program, and in the process they learn how to do it, and it's only cost them $240 if it does take 6 hours or less. So someone you get paid to choose somebody, and that person gets a product and they get something that they can use, and you, whilst you're obviously building it, you can build and sell that same solution. So it's a win-win for you if you're prepared to work for $40 an hour. So how do you get started? So the first thing to do, if you're in the property business or you are a property sourcer or you operate in that space, write down the repetitive tasks that you perform on a daily basis. So you put those down, write them down as if they are tasks that you perform as part of your property sourcing, or just normal tasks that you have within the property space. It could be the frequency of calling a certain number, certain tenant, certain agent, or different tenants at specific times every day. Automate all of those things. There is automation in those calls. You don't have to make them for yourself. So you can write down those repetitive tasks, and you can get in touch with us. We can help you make those tasks not only repetitive, but make them more robust, reliable, traceable. You can build analytics around it, some information to know the best times to call particular tenants or particular landlords, because you can set this to call at different times rather than just between 9 and 10, because that's the only time you have during the day. You can set it to try at between 10 and 11, 11 and 12. You can just do that over a few days, and then you work out the best return or the best response you get. We can automate that. So write down those repetitive tasks and be prepared to learn as we go through this process, because you learn how to use n8n as I teach you, and you learn how to get the inputs that you need, the data that you need, how to save that data to particular systems, and the logic you need to be thinking about when you're building all of these things. And we would use free tools. Every single one we use will be free from your standpoint. n8n has a free tier. Google Sheets, Apify, probably wouldn't use anything from Apify, depending on where we decide to pull the data from, but it's an option. Then ChatGPT, you can use it to produce some summarizations at the end, so draw some conclusions based on the information that you have, and be prepared to collaborate, work together to help you make those tasks in 3 day less than day, because just free yourself to do the things that will actually add more value to your business, like networking. So the other thing that I was looking at is an automated way of finding land deals. Right, there are tools like landed sites, business maps, all these things exist for finding these land deals, and you can essentially automate lots of what those tools are doing using a lot of these AI tools. If this is something course on or maybe do a session on, do let me know. DM me, and depending on what the demand is like, I would invest the time to go through the process of making that automated sequence. So it is a bit more involved because it's more visual and it's map based. So AIs are not fully mature in that space, even though there are tools that are able to do these things. But it's something that you want me to look at, do some and sure something together if you're interested. So you can ask me anything about automation, about AI, about real estate. I'll provide you the information I've got, the understanding that I have, and the experience, the benefit of experience I have in both verticals, real estate and IT. So drop me any property process or sequence you'd like to see automated and build something to help. If it's something that you want built just for yourself, then reach out to me and we'll connect and make it happen. So thank you so much for joining me today. This was just an introduction to the next set of courses that you'd see me talk about and teach over the coming days. And what we're trying to build is this automated tool that would help you appraise your properties, appraise your deals, and make decisions a lot quicker. So that's it for now. Have a great Friday evening, and I'll see you during the week next week when we start building this thing that somebody will place on Upwork that could potentially make you $240 for 6 months. So see you